अब नहीं है हिचकिचाना, मन के स्वास्थ्य पर है ध्यान लगाना।
अब नहीं है हिचकिचाना, मन के स्वास्थ्य पर है ध्यान लगाना।
मन की सेहत भी है जरूरी, काउंसलर से फिर क्यों दूरी।
मन की सेहत भी है जरूरी, काउंसलर से फिर क्यों दूरी।
चलो अब अपना फोन उठाओ, मनोदर्पण पर कॉल लगाओ। चलो अब अपना फोन उठाओ, मनोदर्पण पर कॉल लगाओ। मनोदर्पण के काउंसलर से परामर्श पाने के लिए डायल करें टोल फ्री नंबर 844-844-0632। नंबर एक बार फिर सुने, 844-844-0632।
Hello, Namaskar and very good afternoon to all the viewers connected with us on NCERT's live and interactive program of Manodarpan Paricharcha. I am Manu Gupta, your host for this session. Dear viewers, as you are all aware, Manodarpan Paricharcha sessions are conducted under the initiative of Ministry of Education as a part of Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan to provide psychosocial support to students, teachers and parents all across the country. जी हाँ दर्शकों, ये एक बेहतरीन माध्यम है आपके मानसिक स्वास्थ्य से संबंधित कोई भी सवाल हम तक पहुंचाने का, फिर चाहे आप स्टूडेंट्स हो, टीचर हो या बच्चे हों। और हम अपने एक्सपर्ट्स की सहायता से पूरी कोशिश करते हैं आपके सभी सवालों के जवाब आप तक पहुंचाने के। Dear viewers, I would also like to tell you that we are streaming live on channel number 6 and 11, PM eVidya channel number 6 and 11. Apart from that, we are also streaming live on our YouTube channel which goes by the name NCERT Official. Viewers, if you wish to know more about Paricharcha session or about this program, you can go to the dedicated government website which is www.manodarpan.gov.in. इस वेबसाइट पर जाकर आपको वो सभी जानकारियाँ और फ़ोन नंबर्स मिलेंगे जो आपके मानसिक स्वास्थ्य से संबंधित दुविधाओं को सुलझा सकते हैं। और अब बिना देरी किए मैं आज आपको अपने टॉपिक से मिलवाना चाहूँगी। हमारा टॉपिक जो आज रहेगा वो है द रोल ऑफ सोशो-कल्चरल कॉन्टेक्स्ट इन इनकलकेटिंग वैल्यूज़, यानी कि मूल्यों को सीखने में सांस्कृतिक और सामाजिक परिप्रेक्ष्य की भूमिका। सो दर्शकों, अगर इस टॉपिक से रिलेटेड भी आपके कुछ सवाल हैं जो आप हम तक पहुंचाना चाहते हैं, प्लीज़ नोट डाउन आवर फोन नंबर। इट इज़ 844-844-0632. It is our dedicated Manodarpan tele helpline number. Apart from that, we also have our NCERT officials number. It is 800-880-440-559. It is flashing on the screen right now. All right, now I have told you about the topic, also about the mediums through which you can connect with us. Let's talk a little bit about the topic that we are going to deal today. So, दर्शकों, जैसा आप जानते हैं, हर सोसाइटी के कुछ नॉर्म्स और ट्रेडिशंस होते हैं। इन्हीं नॉर्म्स और ट्रेडिशंस को इनकलकेट करके बच्चे अपने बड़ों से जो भी चीज़ें सीखते हैं उनसे हम मिलकर वैल्यू बनाते हैं। आप सभी जानते हैं वैल्यूज़ ही पर्सनालिटी को डिफ़ाइन करते हैं। तो इस इम्पॉर्टेंट टॉपिक को हम डिटेल में समझने के लिए आइए चलते हैं अपने पैनल ऑफ एक्सपर्ट्स के पास। आज हमारे साथ जुड़ गए हैं इस सेशन में पैनल ऑफ एक्सपर्ट्स। प्लीज़ लेट्स वेलकम देम टुगेदर। वी आर जॉइंड टुडे बाय मिस पिंकी घोष। मैम इज लेक्चरर डाइट दारंग आसाम। मैम नमस्कार एंड वेलकम टू द सेशन। All right, we are also joined by Dr. Soma Bhamik. Ma'am is Professor and Vice Chancellor, William Carey University, Shillong. Ma'am, namaskar and welcome to the session.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, we have with us Dr. Shivali Sharma. Ma'am is Senior Assistant Professor from MIT University, Lucknow. Ma'am, namaskar and welcome to the session.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me an opportunity. Thank you so much.
Ji. And lastly but not the least, we are joined by Dr. Sagnika Sahu. Ma'am is Assistant Professor in NERIE, Shillong. Ma'am, namaskar and welcome to the session.
Thank you. Namaste.
जी, सो दर्शकों, अब आप हमारे एक्सपर्ट से भी मिल गए हैं, टॉपिक भी जान लिया है। आइए चले एक्सपर्ट्स के पास सवाल पूछने के लिए। मैं सबसे पहले जाना चाहूँगी पिंकी मैम के पास, और मैं पिंकी मैम से जानना चाहूँगी, मैम, व्हाट डू वी मीन बाय सोशो कल्चरल कॉन्टेक्स्ट एंड वैल्यूज़, एंड ऑल्सो what are the mediums through which values are transferred to the children?
Thank you, ma'am. Actually, the social cultural content refers to the combination of the social and cultural factors. So, what are these cultural factors? It is the family, the community, the traditions, the religion, the language, the media, and the education system as a whole. So, that surrounds individual and influence their development. So, what is the social values? The social values refers to the shared beliefs, the ideas, the principles through which a student develops themselves in their family or in the society. So these are the guiding individual behavior and promote the social order and cohesion among themselves. Then these social values make the students self-disciplined. It gives a sense of to identify the right and wrong. Then the culture. It forms the backbone of identity by imparting cultural knowledge and values, the traditions. Schools ensure that students grow up with a strong sense of who they are and where they have come from. They understand their roots. Social values make students self-disciplined and give a sense of identity to identify the wrong and the right.
Ji.
And social cultural factors, they greatly have an impact on the learning. So what is the learning? The social, it includes the cultural norms, social interactions, the values and historical expectations, or the holistic, which brings about the holistic development. Then most important is what are the moral values they have to develop the tolerance among themselves. Then decision making power and the tradition and habits, it comes through some mediums. Well, what are these mediums? These are the social institutions such as the family, the school, then the communities, the peer groups. Then among these, the family is the pioneer, where the foundational values are instilled, where the respect, honesty, empathy, and responsibility are learned. Parental attitudes and behaviors act as a role models for children. Cultural practices followed at home help shape early value systems. For example, a child who observes that his parents are greeting their elders and respecting them, so the child also learns to respect the elders. Similarly, in education system and in schools, when the schools act as a formal institution where the foundation of morals and ethical values are taught. So depending on that, the curricula, classroom interactions, teachers conduct some school policies, all contribute to shape the students' values. For example, in a school, when the assembly starts with a moral story or a thought of the day, so the students learn that the whole day, what good thoughts they have to carry throughout the day. Then we have the peer influences. The peers, we know the friends and the peer groups are a very important part of the student life. So these peer groups, what they do, they reinforce and challenge existing values. Social interactions help students learn tolerance, cooperation, and conflict resolution. For example, a group of friends sharing the lunch, or they helping the others, one another in in doing homework. So that shows that the values they have inculcated in them, that is the values of cooperation, the mutual support, and sharing among themselves. Then we have the community and the social norms. So as the child grows and he develops in the society, as we are all a social being, we have some local customs, festivals, rituals, societal expectations, and which we see our adults, the children always observe the elders and they learn and they apply in their life. So it is very important that the adults behave properly so that children, when they observe, they learn the good things and apply in their day-to-day life. So it plays a large role in, so the social expectation plays a large role in reinforcing shared values such as solidarity, equality, cultural pride, etc. The community role models such as the leaders in the community, the elders, they have a positive influence on the youth and their behavior. They just, as a child, they just imitate their role models. So, for example, during festive season, harvest festival, sometimes they go for community community farming, or sometimes in what happens during festive season, they go for community fishing also. So that time, what they do, they have help in all the elders, the children, they eat together. It is known as a Sampiti Bhojan. So that inculcate values of cooperation among themselves. Then we talk about the religion and the spirituality. So what the religion and spirituality says. For example, a child who, if he's a Christian, he attends a Sunday class or a Sunday school. Then if one read the Quran, attend the Quran classes, or they read the Bhagavad Gita, or they hear about the Bhagavad Gita in a session, then what they get, they learn the values of truthfulness, forgiveness, and compassion through religious stories and scriptures. Thus, and moreover, the religious festivals and also the fast they keep, the rituals, they teach us to be humble, to have self-control, and also for self-reflection. Then, last but not the least, the media and the technology. As children, mostly they love watching televisions, social media, movies, and internet. So it is films such as the Tare Zameen Par have a positive impact, where we see inclusiveness and children showing empathy towards another. So these are some of the media and technology they promote these social and cultural values. So we should use it. Use it properly, and parents as well as teachers should guide the children to use those things in a proper way, so that they are not misled.
Right.
And thus, the social cultural values significantly shape a student's life, influencing their personality, behavior, academic success, and overall development. The view of the overall concept of socio-cultural aspects.
Yes.
To inculcate the values.
Right. So दर्शकों, हमने अभी मिस पिंकी घोष से जाना कि सोशो कल्चरल कॉन्टेक्स्ट और वैल्यूज़ का क्या मतलब है, किस तरह से उनको इम्पार्ट किया जाता है, और मैम ने लगातार स्ट्रेस किया एक पॉइंट पर दैट एल्डर्स, द बिहेवियर ऑफ एल्डर्स हैज़ अ लॉट ऑफ इम्पैक्ट इन शेपिंग द बिहेवियर एंड वैल्यूज़ ऑफ द यंगर जनरेशन. फिर वो चाहे रिलीजियस प्रैक्टिसेस हों, सोसाइटल ट्रेडिशंस या नॉर्म्स फॉलो करना हो. साथ ही मैम ने मीडिया के रोल पर भी काफ़ी स्ट्रेस किया कि मीडिया किस तरह से एम्पैथी और टॉलरेंस भी बच्चों में की वैल्यूज़ को इम्पार्ट करता है. आइए आगे चलते हैं डॉक्टर सोमा के पास और जानते हैं उनसे अगले सवाल के बारे में. और अगला सवाल है हमारा, व्हाट इज़ द इम्पैक्ट ऑफ सोशल कल्चरल मिलियू इन काउंसलिंग टुवर्ड्स मेंटल वेलबींग ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स? प्लीज शेयर योर एक्सपीरियंसेस इन रेफरेंस टू मेघालय, मैम.
Thank you, ma'am, for having me here. And today we are in this very interesting and very important interactive session, which speaks about the socio-cultural milieu and how it impacts inculcating values in our life, and which is extremely important for our youth and the students. Now, in counseling, the socio-cultural context is a vital framework. My previous the speaker has already emphasized on that very interestingly. So this entire framework actually acknowledges how a person's culture, social environment, background shape their experiences, beliefs, and behaviors. Now, we as counselors, as teachers, use this perspective. We integrate aspects like race. We integrate things like gender, family structures, religious beliefs, educational systems, societal norms into this entire therapeutic process to provide culturally sensitive and effective, support or treatment, as you may say, that considers the individuals or the individual students' unique cultural identity and how it impacts their social group. India, we are a diverse country, we are a multicultural country, and our friends are also our friends. They are all a multicultural group. So it becomes very, very important how we look into this entire socio-cultural context of this country, and how within that context values will be inculcated. Now, the key aspects of the socio-cultural context is definitely culture. Culture plays a very, very important role. It encompasses our shared values, our beliefs, our practices, our customs of a particular, community or society. Next, our social structures, like it refers to how people will be organized, including family structure, extended versus nuclear families, community hierarchies, and group interactions. And we have got intersectionality, which recognizes individuals' experiences are shaped by the interplay of multiple cultural identities such as race, gender, sexual orientation, religion, socioeconomic status. We, of course, have our cultural norms, which are very, very important, and they are including certain unspoken, rules and guidelines of the system that we are in, that direct and individuals' actions and interactions within their social groups. Then also we have got certain things like collectivism and individualism, which is again very, very multidisciplinary, and it impacts our life in various ways. It addresses whether a culture, it emphasizes the needs of a group over individual. Those issues are there, or vice versa, which can again, affect problem solving and decision making in this entire treatment or in the entire therapy process. Now, counseling is a very important aspect in this. It gives us a holistic understanding. All those who are into teaching, where students come to us, where we have got to deal with the daily issues, it provides a more complete picture of an individual's, personal struggles by considering external factors also, and not just internal ones. Then again, there is something which it requires individuals like us, like counselors, to understand and address issues related to diversity, which is very, very important in a society like, a country like India. And it helps us developing culturally adaptive and interventions rather than assuming universal applicability. So we must look into the individual differences and move our treatments or our therapies accordingly. So having said that, a little about the state from where I come from, Meghalaya, the abode of the clouds. It's such a beautiful state, and it's very appreciative to note that Meghalaya, in fact, has a comprehensive mental health and social care policy since 2022. It in fact was the first state in the Northeast to have this kind of a policy, which will focus on holistic and community engagement. As you know, that Meghalaya, the main tribes of this state, there are three: the Khasis, the Jaintias, and the Garos. They are matrilineal in nature, and they follow those things. So the policy that we have here, they aim to overcome stigma. It addresses social therapies with specific programs for vulnerable groups. So now the key aspects of this particular policy are also very, very important for us to understand. For us as counselors here, as teachers here, this particular policy was launched in 2022, and this policy emphasizes, social justice, recovery, community participation, with a focus on providing culturally sensitive, contextually relevant care. We have a mental health helpline where people use it, and government facilities are also here. That We have here MIMHANS in Shillong, and civil hospitals in district headquarters have certain paraphernalia to address these situations. And definitely another aspect is community engagement. Community engagement in this policy is a very important segment. The policy stresses on the importance of strong community ties, which is very much very important aspect of the society life out here, community life out here. And mental health recovery process to reduce the prevalence of mental health disorders is very focused aspect of this particular policy. And then there is comprehensive care pathways also, efforts definitely. They are upscaling the efforts are actually underway to design care pathways. So this is a very important aspect of our policy. And of course, the focus is on vulnerable group, which is very important. This particular policy, it targets support for vulnerable communities, including children, adolescents, elderly people, people with addictions, people who belong to the LGBTQIA plus other individuals who may come into this system. And then this policy also addresses the social detriments. The approach aims to address social factors contributing to mental ill health, such as poverty, stress, anxiety, and other precursors, and it promotes preventive care. Now, we have got, as I mentioned, helpline, which is 14410 for immediate mental health assistance. And we have got the MIMHANS out here. Civil hospital also offers these facilities. Plus, there are district counseling centers as well, which are functional. This way, the policy in our state is one of the most significant intervention that the government has made, and where public in general and specific vulnerable groups can take advantage and reach out to these institutions. So, ma'am,
Yes.
this is for me. This is from me as of now.
That's great. Right. So that was Dr. Soma telling us all about social cultural milieu in context of counseling. Ma'am also enlightened us about the Meghalaya's mental health policy, which makes Meghalaya the first state in Northeast and the third all over India to focus on the issue of mental health. Ma'am also talked about the care pathway that takes care of not only the children, adults, but the vulnerable groups also, which ma'am mentioned in detail. And I could see how proud ma'am felt while telling all about the traditions and cultures followed in her state. So moving forward, I have a question to Dr. Shivali. Dr. Shivali, I would like to ask you, what is the importance of value clarification among teens?
Oh, thank you for giving me so much of information about Meghalaya, Soma. Thank you. And as we begin, it is more important first to tell about why we have chosen this topic and which this topic originates from. So when we are talking about value, we begin with Makiguchi philosophy. He was a philosopher. He was a Japanese philosopher who's very well known, and he talked about value inculcation through the individual's interaction with the environment. So he believed that he was the first one to talk about how the environment affects the values of a person. And from there on, we move to what are values. When we talk about values, what are values? We have talked about so many things, but do we have the clarification? Do the children we are addressing have the clarification about values, what values are and why are they important? So whenever we are talking about values, we talk about values as code of conduct, and we talk about values as do's and don'ts. But values has so much more to do with you as a person than the society. Once you have a background, when you are a child, values are being inculcated because you are interacting with people, you are interacting with your parents, you are interacting with so many persons. Then you set your ideals. When you grow up, as you grow up, when you reach your teenage, which is different, you have to deal with the teenagers in a very different way in which you are dealing with the children. So, how do we differentiate between values and morals? See, when Pinky ma'am has talked about morals, how the morals develop, and what is the thought for the day, and how it influences children in schools. So, whenever you are talking to children, we are trying to, inculcate or instill the values in those children by guiding them. You are the guiding light. But once these values are instilled, when they codify what are the do's and don'ts for their behavior and how are these going to affect our lives, then they reach the next stage of life, that is teenage. And when you talk about value inculcation, it is just about instilling the values and behavior according to certain ethical and moral codes. Now, some people are not able to differentiate between morals and values. They are two very different things. When you talk about values, they are generally very subjective. They are as if you have a playlist of songs which you resonate with. So generally, whenever you want to go back to that list, whenever you want to listen to something which resonates with your ideas, your feelings, and your thoughts, you go back to that playlist. Similarly, values are those subjective code of conduct which guide your behavior. It has nothing to do with what society is telling you. Morals are more about the social do's and don'ts. Morals are dictations from the society, but values are your compass. They are providing you to how well you can navigate in your life using that compass. So adolescence, which we call a period of storm and stress, and the period in which the identity is being formed, it is very different. Value inculcation is very different from value clarification. You have already instilled values. When they were children, you were talking to them, you were teaching them moral stories, and they were having a moral science lesson in their schools, and the grandparents and the parents teaching them through morals through panchtan stories or bedtime stories, and it was all about developing their values. But once the values have been instilled, when they reach their adolescence, it is the age of lot of confusion, and it is an age in which children are generally in conflict with the societal code of conduct. They are forming their identities. They are in an utter state of confusion. They are looking for clarifications from all around. And this is the time when we have to help them clarify their values. So what is value clarification? Value clarification has to do more with self reflection. It has more to do with the discussions. It has more to do with case discussions with the teenagers. Whenever I take classes, whenever I talk about values and morals, I'm teaching university students who have just, they are in their teens or they have just come out of their teens. And whenever I brainstorm with them about values, they generally say that we do not want authorities to dictate values. We want them to discuss values with us. We want somebody to, give us the reason why, because they are not in that frame of mind where you can lecture them. You have to discuss with them. You have to help them clarify through self-reflection that what are their guiding principles. See, again, like attitudes, values have three components. It is always about A, B, and C. It is always about affect, behavior, and cognition. So Again, values are the ideas which you have in your mind, which is guiding your feelings and which is guiding your behavior. So sometimes teenagers have their values, they have values which are very well instilled in them, but still they are not able to behave in consistency with those principles in life. And then they need support. They need unconditional positive regard. They need unconditional acceptance from the parents, from the teachers, and from the authorities, so that they can, just talk about what they want from life. They can set their goals. So you are acting not as a preacher, you are acting as a reflector. You are reflecting back whatever their thoughts are. Just like counseling, we are reflecting those values back to them. We are telling them, we are guiding them, we are facilitating mainly, so that they can know what their values are, so they become more confident about decisions they are taking in life, whether they align with their values, are aligning with the decisions they are taking. And they have, if there is a lot of discrepancy between their values and their actions, then there will be, obviously there will be a lot of cognitive dissonance. And जब cognitive dissonance होगा तो they are not at ease. तो जब हम टीनेजर्स के साथ डील करते हैं तो हमें बहुत डिफरेंट तरीके से डील करना होगा एज कंपेयर टू चिल्ड्रन. दे आर ऑलवेज इन अ रेबेलियस मोड. दे हैव मोर क्वेश्चंस. So you can, reason out with them, but you cannot dictate them to follow your values blindly. Again, whenever we are talking about values, the society and the teenagers are generally, not aligning with each other when it comes to values. And if you talk about the parents and the children, when they reach their teenage, there is a lot of generation gap between the two, and the values which were actually working for us are not going to work for our children. So if we think that values do not go obsolete, we are wrong. We have to accept that, of course, there are some values which might go obsolete, and there are some basic values which have to stay and which have to be instilled, ingrained very strongly in the new generation too. But again, we have to understand that there has to be a difference between our values and the values of the present generation, because the society has changed. Globalization has, changed the whole scenario about values and how your culture is influencing the child. The child is actually has the exposure to the whole world. He's watching movies from across the world, and they are looking at European lifestyle, and they are looking at American lifestyle, and they are looking at American teens who have got a lot of independence, which might not be considered right by us as parents and teachers, but we cannot deny that they are freely available to the teens, and they are watching them and they are getting influenced. But as parents, as teachers, and as psychologists, we have to understand and we have to empathize with these children, and we have to reason out how these values can actually not be applied in our socio-cultural context, and why they should behave in a particular way which is approved by the society. We have to reason out, we have to brainstorm, and I think that is it's a bilateral transfer of knowledge, not unilateral. It is always a discussion, it is always brainstorming.
Right.
You have, they are, because analyzing and synthesizing everything which you are saying.
Right.
So we have to understand the gaps between us and the teenagers, and we have to try to bridge the gap in a very wise way and very understanding way.
Great. So that was Dr. Shivali with us. Ma'am told us in detail about the difference between morals and values. Ma'am also mentioned one of the Japanese philosopher, Maki Guchi. As per ma'am, he was the first philosopher who talked about value inculcation through environment. Do go back to our YouTube channel and catch the entire conversation. It was wonderful and enlightening. Ma'am also told about what is the difference between value inculcation and value clarification. It was a great explanation, ma'am. I'm sure our viewers must have gained a lot from it. Since we talked about stakeholders in Shivali ma'am's session also, let's move forward and go to Dr. Sagnika and talk a little bit more about our stakeholders. And my question to ma'am is, ma'am, what is the role of parents and teachers in promoting value inculcation? Dr. Sagnika.
Thank you so much, ma'am. As the discussion is going on, it is very clear that creating that environment is very much important. And the environment is created at the very primary level by the parents, and then when the children come to the schools, it is created by the teachers. So here we can see that value inculcation is all about that creating that environment where we can imbibe those values from the environment and we can reflect that to our character. In the next slide, we'll try to understand how teachers and parents can imbibe values. What are their roles? So, first one is that values are caught rather than taught. It is very clear because whatever we project through our behavior, the students, the child follow that. So, values are caught rather than taught. So, model our behavior. So, the learners, they follow us at their role models. So what we do and what we preach, if there is a gap, then the learners obviously will follow our behavior. So that's why modeling our behavior, reflecting those value components through our behavior is very much important. Freedom of expression should be there both in the classroom also, in school also, and at home also. Why is it important? Because unless we create that congenial learning environment, that free environment, the learners or the child will not express their opinion, their ideas. They will not pose their questions. So for creating, for respecting others' ideas, that is one of the most important values. We need to create that free environment where the learners, the children can express their ideas. Focus on constructive feedback. What is that? Constructive feedback means whenever we commit some mistakes, then don't focus at the very beginning on the mistakes. Focus on the positive aspects, how they have tried their best. But what is going on not so right, or what is going on, a little different, then you come to that. Here I want to I am reminded of one quotation that is by Swami Vivekananda. He told that never mind the mistakes, never mind the failures, these little backslidings. So never mind the mistakes. I never heard a cow tell a lie, but it is only a cow, never a man. So never mind these failures, these little black slidings. Hold the ideal 1,000 times. And if you fail 1,000 times, make the attempt once more. So this kind of attitude should be there, growth mindset should be there, where we can accept our mistakes. Positive reinforcement is very important because the students, the children, they need that positive reinforcement where their parents, their teacher appreciate their endeavor, not only focusing on the outcome but also how they have tried. Then accepting mistakes as the pillars of learning. Avoid impulsive judgment and evaluative remarks so that the learners can express their opinion, their ideas. Then respect ideas and questions. Whatever questions is raised, whatever ideas is generated by the learners or by the children, that should be appreciated. Next slide, please. Yeah. So while teaching also, we need to focus that whatever values are there in the content, that should be focused. Okay, so explicit implicit value component should be there, and that need to be made explicit so that it is very much clear to the learners. Then empathy. What is that? Empathy means when we feel for others. We feel that empathy is the capacity to feel other people's feeling. So when we feel others' pain, when we feel others' suffering, then only we can understand them. So for this, one strategy that is very important, that is role playing. When we play others' role, we just get involved, immersed into that role, and we try to feel the other person, the role, the character. So in this way, if the teacher implement role playing, then I think this value, that empathy, will be generated, will be inculcated in the learners. Next slide. So community engagement. Next slide. Community engagement, very important, because if we feel something, but unless we do something for others, that value will never be materialized or never be reflected through our behavior. So that's why the value should be reflected when we serve the community, when we form the community, when we think that we are not only will not focus on the problem, but also will focus on the solution, how we can solve the problems that is faced by the community, by the society. So respect, kindness, responsibility, teamwork, resilience, all these value components can be materialized when we implement those value components in the community. Next slide. So as I already told, that positive reinforcement is very much important, to focus not only on the outcome but the endeavor, the process, so that the learners can be very much focused on the process, not on the product. The product may be good, may not be so explicit, but if you encourage their endeavor, their hard work, their persistence, then the learners will be very much motivated. For example, you did it all by yourself. I am so proud of you. I love how hard you tried. So these are the things that we need to tell to our children, tell to our learners. Next slide. Yeah, creating safe environment for children is very important, where the learners feel that they are valued, their questions, their ideas, that is given proper emphasis in the home also, in the school also, in the classroom also. So creating that psychologically safe environment is very necessary for value inculcation. Next slide, please. So each individual is very unique in his or her own way. So we need to respect each and every one, irrespective of their color, their creed, their intellect, their talent, everything. We need to understand that each individual is unique in their own way. For example, if the very unique quality of Lata Mangeshkar is not identified, is not given focus, then do you think that we can have Lata Mangeshkar? No. Similarly, Sachin Tendulkar, if the unique quality is not focused, is not fostered, then we cannot have Sachin Tendulkar. So each child is unique in his or her own way. So as teacher, as parent, we need to identify that, and we need to create that environment where their uniqueness is fostered, is valued. Next slide. NCERT in its textbook, in its book Education for Values in School, a framework, has also suggested some guidelines for value integration. Like, first, identify the values that is there in the content. It may be explicit, it may be implicit. Then find the effective ways through which we can integrate those value components in our classroom transaction. Then discuss and analyze the basic components of values at the cognitive level, affective level, and behavioral level. For example, if we take this topic, conservation of water, then we have to think why this topic is so important. Okay, critically we have to analyze. Then we have to feel that there may be some places where the people, they travel almost miles to fetch water, drinking water, then if we feel that, then our behavior will be modified in such a way that we cannot waste even a drop of water. So values can be analyzed at cognitive level, affective level, and then behavioral level. Then only it will be reflected through our behavior. Implement variety of strategies to make the lesson very lively, interesting, and appealing. Reflect on the content. Reflection on the content is very important because it imbibes values, and focus on how the students can reflect those values in their day-to-day life also. Be very friendly to the students. Encourage cooperative climate rather than competitive climate, and observe the students very keenly so that you can understand the change in the behavior of the children or in the behavior of the learners, so that at proper time you can guide them, you can provide some counseling also, so that their energy, their time, their everything will be channelized in a desired goal. So in this way, as parents and teachers, we can inculcate values.
Right. Yes, thank you so much, Sagnika ma'am. That was Sagnika ma'am with us, telling us all about the stakeholders, how parents and teachers can impart and inculcate values among learners. Ma'am gave some solid, wonderful examples of role playing, being empathetic, being compassionate, and I was remembering my own life. As parents, we many a times become critical towards our children, always correcting their mistakes. But we must always remember to reinforce them positively whenever they do a good action. These things add to the values and the children's perspective move from negative towards positive. So that was Sagnika ma'am with us. Moving forward, I have a question for Pinky Ghosh ma'am. Ma'am, I would like to ask, does social cultural context have a reflection in students' life, and what are its impacts? Pinky ma'am.
Yes, definitely. We have heard about all the experts, and we have seen that the NCERT books also we have the value education. So how much it is important, because these values we learn from the society or from our culture. As we grow up, we are learning all this. So socio-cultural values significantly shape a student's life, influencing their behavior, their academic success, the holistic development, and their personality. So these values actually we learn from the family, community, and cultural events, and this affect the self-esteem of the students. So this we can divide it into different category. For example, in academic engagement, how motivation and focus. If values influence the students. Some cultures where we see that the collective success which motivates students to work harder for the group, so they involve them in the teamwork or the group activity. Where in some culture they give importance to individualistic promotion or say achievement. So personal achievement is important. They help in self-reliance. Second is the attitudes towards learning. So in a family or a community where the children are involved in learning, so you will see that each and every children are engaged in the studies. But in contrast, when due to some socio-economic struggles, people are not involved in studies, so when we see that the academic outcome is affected then. Then also is a cultural mismatch. For when the students who come from the home, their culture is different, and the school, the culture is different, they have a mismatch. And that time the teacher has to play a vital role to comfort them and to adjust to the new environment. Also, the peer can also help in this. Then in behavior and discipline, the sense of responsibility. It is through the family, through honesty, integrity, and discipline, which they learn from the family and later on polish in the schools. They have a positive, where there is a positive school culture, the students become more sensible and responsible. Then the interaction with the authority. For in some schools, we see that the students, they are easily available, the teachers are easily available to listen to the students. So there the students grow, have a positive mindset. But in some where the teachers, they don't encourage them, then they have an inferiority complex also. They cannot share the ideas with the teachers. So it is always important that the school should have a positive school culture, as well as the environment should be also positive to support the child so that it helps in their growth and development. Then we have in school we have the pro-social behavior where the conflict resolution skills should be developed. Then also nowadays it is important that the students are emotionally strong. It also helps in the personal development. So the emotional well-being is the main issue there. So when they feel a feeling in the school, when they enter the school or in the family, when they think that they are important, they are supported by the teachers and their parents or the peer groups, then they show a positive attitude towards the school and the community and the society as a whole. And they also suffer less anxiety and depression because they are always, when they are in health need, the parents are there to support them, the peers are there, then their teachers are there to help them. Then the self-concept of identity. When a student feels that he or she belongs to that school or they have a positive school culture, then among all the diversities, they have they are encouraged to have to express themselves. They have a free will. They can discuss with the teachers or the peers. So there they develop a positive attitude towards the life. Main thing, through education, what we are preparing the students to face the life challenges. So all the challenges, we should build the students in such a way that they should not be afraid of the challenges. They should think that each and every challenges are an opportunity to for progress or to move forward in life. Then the resilience. Then values such as resilience, determination are taught and reinforced by the family. Later on in the school also, they are given the opportunity for growth and development. It significantly improves the emotional well-being and ability to handle life setbacks. So failure, we know failures are the pillars of success. It is always important to do mistakes. There is nothing wrong to do mistakes. We do mistakes. We learn through trial and error. But we should not repeat the same mistake again and again. Then this values and socio-cultural values helps in taking life decisions to choose our career paths. Then decision making. So when we have to make decision, ultimately, yes, the parents, the schools, they have an impact on our life, on the life of the students. But ultimately, the students, when they know what is right, what is wrong, and what they love to do, what their strengths are and what their weaknesses is, to polish those things, they should take their own decisions, but guided by the adults. Then civic engagements. School and society instill values of responsibility and community service and volunteer work. So in a child, we see that when they observe the parents or the teachers voluntarily involved in community work, so they also they have the urge to serve the society. So these are the few good habits which from as they learn as a child, so it remains in them when they are adults. So this they apply this knowledge in their day-to-day life and for a holistic development also, and they have a good adjustment in the society and also with the family, friends, school and community members.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that was Pinky Ghosh ma'am telling us all about the role of socio-cultural context and values in day-to-day life and its impact also. Moving on, we will go to Dr. Soma and ask ma'am how counseling can help students inculcate values by being mindful of the socio-cultural context. Ma'am.
Yes, this again is another very important aspect of our community life, our national life, and important values are to be inculcated among every individual of our society for good citizenship, which again is a very, very important part of the National Education Policy 2020. You see, ma'am, counseling helps in inculcating values. I mean, there is nothing to overemphasize that. We all know as students, as teachers, as counselors, as psychologists, we understand these. That counseling will help. And it also always helps in the supportive process. It leverages socio-cultural context. And as I have said earlier also, and has been pointed out by all the other experts out here, that the kind of country we are, such a diverse country, which makes things more and more sensitive. And it is a duty of every good citizen to understand this whole milieu and see how our students, our youth are able to adjust to the situations. Yes, we as generation are basically so much apart regarding values, regarding the systems that we have been born into and the new ones that they have been born into. So the socio-cultural context that we talk about definitely fosters an understanding of moral principles, and helps individuals to make, their informed choices. And those informed choices, we need to help them to align and to adjust with their cultural values and societal expectations. So societal expectations plays a very, very important role. And counselors, psychologists, teachers, elders in the family, we facilitate this by using various processes of socialization, leading, and we lead by our own examples, we promote open communication. Previously, Ma'am Shivali, she has very rightly pointed out about discussing, not dictating to the youth and to the students now. So open communication, again, is very, very important, helping our students, helping our youth to understand their cultural identity, which helps them to internalize certain, cultural norms and develop a personal moral compass. Yes, definitely some values will remain universal, and they will remain ingrained, and they will be constants in our life. So there will be no compromise on that. But with times, these values changes, and the way we look at things, those changes. So we need to be very mindful of those socio-cultural contexts. Now, as a counselor, as a psychotherapist, or as a psychologist, our role becomes very, very, important. We have to guide them towards like self-discovery. So counseling we provide a kind of framework for individuals, for the youth, to explore their own values, so that they understand their own standards, or their own parameters of what is right and what is wrong, and how they align or they differ with others in the cultural norms. Then next part which comes, and which again is a very important part of the national education policy, is skill development. So as psychologists, as teachers, as counselors, we can help our students, we can help our youth to develop empathy. Ma'am Pinky Ghosh has very tough now. She has referred to being empathizing with the people, empathizing with the students, empathizing with the youth. And also she has mentioned, which I also emphasize, on critical thinking. That means not accepting what one tells you, but to critically think and to understand what actually we believe in. And our ability to make ethical decisions, proper decisions, all of which are vital for moral development. And finally, we find that they all go towards promoting good citizenship, which is again very, very important for a country. Then the next part will be how we address our internal conflicts. As individuals, we experience different kinds of conflicts, different situations, which brings about different kinds of internal conflicts among us. We are forced to think about internal conflicts when which conflicts with our personal values, and with societal and cultural expectations. So counseling helps in that matter also, to look with clarity, to understand matters, to navigate these challenges. The next thing is the modeling of desired behavior. Now, how we as teachers, as elders, we can serve as positive role models, demonstrating desirable behaviors, and values for our students, for our youth, and for our children at home to imitate. Now, this is not to say just to show, but actually we feel and we do it and we believe in our lives. So this again is very important, because otherwise the youth can see through us and they understand that we are not being true to ourselves. So we have to believe in what we say and what we do. Now, the influence of the socio-cultural context is again another very important aspect. That is, we know that socialization, every individual, we learn our values through socialization or through various agencies, and it involves peers, schools, families, religious institutions, socio-cultural institutions. Media is another very, very important aspect of this. Then we have got cultural practices and norms, and there are several cultural practices which informs our way of thinking, the traditions, the established norms that shape our behavior, and our teachings that become considered, that helps us to build our own parameters of what is right and what is wrong, and this influences an individual's value system and ultimately the behavior, which is the external expression of the things.
जी.
Then we have our religious and spiritual frameworks. Religious doctrines and practices play a very, very different, very, very important and a core role in understanding the moral precepts and the ethical teachings that become deeply ingrained. And in many cases, it continues with us to our grave or to our deathbed, and it helps in informing the person's value system through family and through community. Media and community again are very, very strong influences in this whole socio-cultural milieu. So media, community, mass media, literature, and community events all contribute to value formation and knowledge building, and exposes us as individuals, youth as individuals, to different moral dilemmas and societal expectations.
Right.
Then we have our legal and the judicial system, which again is plays a very, 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 very important role in our life. Laws and regulations are there in place. We have the laws, regulations changing in our country, and we have seen that the current government has brought in several new laws and has done away with several archaic old laws, which reeks of colonialism and British legacy, which are of course a part of our national consciousness and also a part of our history.
Right. Dr. Soma will have to move
yes,
on because of the paucity of time.
Thank you.
Yes, so that was Dr. Soma telling us all about how counseling can help our youth explore their own values. Since ma'am has already told a lot about it, let's come to the how. How part will be explained by Dr. Shivali. Dr. Shivali, the next question is for you. Ma'am, how to help the teens to find their core values?
Thank you so much. And actually, the discussion is very interesting. And we are talking about values, but we cannot just talk about the values of the country. We have to talk about the values of the youth. In the age of globalization, we have to talk about the universal human values. And we have to talk about the ways in which we as adults and educators can help them form their values, so that they get some internal frame of reference rather than an external frame of reference. So when you are talking about clarification, value clarification, let me tell you one more thing, that this concept was not developed in India. This term was given by Louis Ratz, and he was a professor at New York University, and it was in late 1960s and 1970s that they talked about the importance of value clarification. And he was working with the humanistic psychologist, and they were talking about value clarification in terms of self-awareness, and they were talking about value clarification for self-actualization. So they had a higher purpose when they talked about value clarification. So they began and they said that for values to develop, you need to give the youth an internal frame of reference. You need to give them the free will to choose. So we have to provide, and from there we have to, we have to take certain things. Wherever you are finding good concepts, you have to adapt and adopt those things, and give them to our students, to our children, in a way that it is acceptable to them. You give them like you are offering them dishes on a platter, and let them decide what goes with their palate, what goes with their taste, and what is acceptable. Because we are offering, so we give them alternatives which are socially acceptable. But when they are given a freedom to choose, I think they will choose the best for themselves. Because if you are giving them, if you are establishing a rapport which is an adult to adult rapport, they actually love it. They actually trust you more when you treat them as adults rather than treating them as children, keeping yourself up and keeping them down. When you keep them on the platform, they actually reach that platform. So first thing first, we have to set an example by our own behaviors, by our own values. You have to model those things. So if you are behaving in a way which is inconsistent with whatever you are preaching to them, whatever you are teaching to them, and whatever you are telling them to do, they will never accept it. Because there has to be in our consistency in our words and in our actions. So establish a very good rapport with the children in the developing years. This is very important. This is very important for their growth, for their development, for their goal setting, for everything which they have to do in life. So, see, I will give you an example of Google Map. This I heard somewhere, this is not from me, but this was something which actually clicked. See, whenever you are putting a map on Google and it is guiding you somewhere, and you make a wrong turn, which everybody does one time or the other, what does it do?
It
It
reroutes.
reroutes.
Yes.
It reroutes and it tells us. So sometimes that rerouting we do not know. That route might have been the most difficult route. That route might not have been apt. It might have caused some accident. We were saved. So, like the Google Map has not screamed on us and not telling us that how dare you take the wrong turn. I was literally guiding you, practically guiding you at every step, and how did you make this wrong turn? Similarly, we as adults, we have to do this. We have to take this approach. Whenever they take the wrong moves, we have to be very, very empathetic and very, very supportive. Again, we talk about humanistic approach, and we tell them that, see, this is what we are offering you, and this is what is good for you, and you have to choose from the alternatives we are providing you. And if you have anything else in mind, and if you do not agree with these values which I'm telling you to choose from, then you have to give proper logical answer to that reason why you are choosing a particular thing and not something which has been followed for years altogether. So we have to give them the freedom to choose. Once they choose, when they choose freely, they actually prize what they have chosen. You see, when you talk about values, you talk about their career, you talk about their decisions which they have taken in life. Once you decide, help them choose the field, you give them the freedom to choose their fields or the subjects, the stream they want to study in, they actually prize it. And I have seen with parents who have not given the option to the child to choose the stream, to choose the career, then the children will never cherish. So the values basket has to be kept freely in front of them, and they have to choose what do they want from their life, and on the basis of that goal setting, on the basis of what they value, they have to choose from that bucket, right? And many things can be done. We give them moments whenever we are teaching our students, whenever I'm taking my behavioral science classes or whenever I'm taking this value education classes. The first thing which we begin with are activities on self-reflection, which is very important. We begin the classes with who am I? We tell them the importance of being different and how a unique self is different from categorical self. When you are talking about levels, you are giving the concept of levels, you are talking about the uniqueness of self and the categorical self. There are certain things which we know that we share in common with others, but there are certain aspects of ourselves which are unique, and we have to address to both. So it is very important to celebrate the uniqueness of every child and help them celebrate their uniqueness, their identities. So for that, you need to give them time to look into their selves, give them this activity of, who am I, so that they discover what their values are, what their core beliefs are, and they can freely choose and act on the basis of that. So again, when we move to next, when we talk about again dealing with the moral and ethical dilemmas which they come across, role playing is one very good example, giving them situations and they are asked to role play. What will be the course of action? See, I have shown them movies, and I have shown them movies where there was a particular decision which was ethical, and that decision was taken by the main character and how it affected his or her life. So you can ask them, you can discuss with them, if you were in the place of this character, what would you do? So, giving them chance to deliberate, giving them chance to deliberate upon what can be done under certain circumstances. So role playing, case discussions are ways of teaching or clarifying the values to the teenagers who have already formed their identities, who are in the stage of forming identities, but they have a clarity for what they want in life and what they do not want in life. Then we have sensitivity activities. Sensitivity activities are mainly you are giving them situations which are really tough, right? And you are asking them to play the role, and they are in that, they are asked to feel what the character is feeling. This is the situation, you are here, you are in Gaza, and you are waiting for your turn. So we have to give them that sensitization activities. Had you been there, what would you so these are the ways when you give them sensitivity activities, when you give them when you ask them to journal their feelings. Journaling is again very, very good way of asking them to journal down their best moments, their worst moments, what were the values which were compromised when they were in that stage. So when they journal it, they gain more clarification about the values which they have. So
Dr. Shivali, I would request you to sum up in a short manner whatever points were left in your topic.
Okay. So you again, there are ranking activities which can be given to children. In the ranking activities, you ask them to list their values, and then you ask them to cut the values, and actually they scream when they are cutting those values, and asking them to choose the first 3 values. First you ask them to list the values, and then you ask them to cancel. So when they rank which are your favorite values, again you can ask them to choose the best 3 values which are applicable to them. So you have to give them an insight into their values. You don't have to dictate the values. It is through self-reflection that these teenagers will develop their values. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That was Dr. Shivali with us, telling us all about the strategies and ways how to teach or maybe give the free will to the youth to find their core values. Ma'am suggested several ways for teachers and counselors so that the youth can come up with their core values, like rating values, like sensitizing activities like journaling. These are some amazing activities through which the youth can come up with their core values. And now we are moving towards the end of the session, and I will go to Dr. Sagnika for our last question. Dr. Sagnika, can you please in short tell us about a comprehensive model that the teachers can use to impart the values among our children?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, as you told, ma'am, this is comprehensive value in the sense that it not only comprises that orientation, but also how we can inculcate that values in our classroom, and how we can, we can give them some kind of reflection also, so that they can use those values, they can implement those values in their day-to-day life. So, first one is that where as ma'am Shivali ma'am already told that for value inculcation, what is most important is that no dictation but discussion. So if we make the students, or if we make the learners aware that why value inculcation, why character development is very important, and from the psychological point of view, we also know that creating readiness is very much important. So if we focus that why value inculcation, why character development is important, not only from the individual point of view, but from the societal point of view also, and from the national point of view also. So for individual, what we need is that we have great power, three great powers we have. We have the power of mind, we have the power of body, and we have the power of heart. So we have great powers, but we don't know what power we have. So if the character is not developed properly, if the values are not there in the character, then the energy, everything, the life will be a wastage. So for individual also, and at the social level also, the society, if the person, each and every individual is not of that level, of that character, then the social life will be also destroyed. And at the national level, as we all know, that we have that largest number of youth population. So if this youth population is not channelized in a proper way, they will not help in the national development, rather they'll pose threat to the society, to the nation. So that's why first we need to understand why character development is so important, and how we can do that through developing our mind, intellect, through mind management, then by developing our heart through prayer, through being empathetic, and through the development of our hand, that is through providing service to others. So in this way, if the learners are motivated that they can practice those values in their day-to-day life, it is imperative for them to develop the character, then they will be motivated for value inculcation. Now as teacher, what we can do, first we have to identify that what are the values that is there in the content. It may be explicit, it may be implicit also. So that identification of value component is very much important. Then we have to focus on the internalization of the values through taking different strategies like role playing, debate, discussion, value clarification, as ma'am already discussed, dramatization. What we can do, we can incorporate, we can inculcate those values in our system. And then not only that value inculcation, internalization, but also what is important, value characterization. Through our character, how we can reflect those value component. So that is also very important. So while, if as a teacher, if I think that if 50 students are there in my classroom, if I think that I am dealing with 50 resources, and these children, these students, they are going to change wherever they go, then my approach will be very much responsible approach. I cannot be very much indifferent. My attitude cannot be very callous, right? So for that, what I need to do, I need to give them the guidance how they can reflect those value components in their day-to-day life. So that value characterization is very important. Now, in the third part, what we can do, we can give session for introspection and through different activities, so that the learners can enjoy also the activities, and at the same time they can inculcate those values in their day-to-day life. So for example, what we can do every day, we can start the day with mental concentration, because we have this great power of mind, and most of the time we are pulled by our mind. Our mind is there not to guide us if our mind is not properly focused or properly properly trained, right? So mind management, mental concentration should be there. Maybe it may take for five minutes, but that 5 minutes, through that attachment and detachment. What is mental concentration? Focusing on one particular image, particular topic for a longer period of time, and cut out all the distractions, right? So if we focus that, if we have that power of detachment and attachment, then we can use our mind whatever way we want to use. We can focus properly. Then second one is Mangalacharan. This is prayer for the well-being of others. This is for the development of our heart. So it will take almost 1 minute. For example, if we pray that Sahana Babatu, Sahano Hunaktu, Sahabiryang Karbavahai, Tejashinavadhita Mastu Mavid Bisavahai, or if we pray that all people they live very freely, there is no disease, सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया
Dr.
सर्वे
Sagnika,
भद्राणि पश्यन्तु.
I will have to
Yes,
interrupt
yes,
in
yes.
between. We are at the end of our session. Can you please move
Okay,
a little
okay.
faster?
In 1 minute,
with-
I'll
yes.
conclude, ma'am.
Please, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. So throughout the day, you carry that value in your mind and try to reflect that in your day-to-day activities. And through different activities in the classroom, for example, by taking different games, different activities, creating different situations, the teacher can create those situations so that the learners can enjoy also, and they develop values also. And one session may be there once in a week, so that the students can have that opportunity to reflect, so that they can share their experience, that they have reflected those values in their day-to-day life, so that others also feel motivated. So in this way, we can reflect, we can build our character, we can inculcate values.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Sagnika, for being short and crisp. Ma'am explained a comprehensive plan of inculcating values among our youth. So that was our session for the day. We discussed a topic that was the role of a socio-cultural context in inculcating values. We had a panel of learned experts with us, and let's come together to thank the experts with me. We were joined by Ms. Pinky Ghosh, Ms. Dr. Soma Bhaumik, Dr. Shivali Sharma, and last but not the least, Dr. Sagnika Sahu. I would like to give my thanks to all the experts for joining us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so dear viewers, we learned about social cultural context in inculcating values. We also learned about the role of stakeholders, parents, teachers, and the society also. We also learned about the impact of counseling in inculcating the values. We also heard about the good practices that Meghalaya state is following for health and social security. Lastly, a comprehensive plan was shared by one of the experts, which the teachers can refer so that values can be inculcated among the youth. And here we come to the end of the session, but before going, I would like to give you an important information about class 4 and 7 textbooks. These new textbooks are available on Amazon, Flipkart, and our NCERT official website. You can get the textbooks from there. And also, please have a look at the schedule of the upcoming session. So at 4 o'clock, we are going to have a session, Vanchito Tak Pahunchne Hetu Digital Pradyogiki. It's a training program, and from 5 to 5:30, we are going to have a Sahyog session of role of language and communication in adolescent emotional regulation and conflict resolution. And lastly, for today, we are going to have a training from NEPA, that would be school leadership and development, from 5:30. So that was a session of Paricharcha for you, dear viewers. I hope you learned a lot. Do go back to our YouTube channel, whatever you have missed. I am Anu Gupta, your host for this session, taking your leave. Namaskar.